I think before we get too carried away with all these tips, I know sometimes I can get really excited about everything, but also know that more than being a photographer, you're made for community with these church members.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another Tuesday Talks. Today, I have a guest with me that I am so honored to have on the Tuesday Talks video series, whatever you want to call it. And I'm so excited to get into today's discussion. But first of all, Maria, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself for those that don't know you?
Hi, everyone. My name is Maria Lara. I am the media director here at my church in Everett, Washington.
Awesome. So, Maria, I know that you've been doing photography for a very long time. How long have you been doing photography?
I think I'm closing close to my decade of actually being behind the camera. I learned on the sidelines of a football game in high school, and that's where I learned how to get to know the camera when someone just kind of handed it over and said, "Hey, take pictures of the football game."
Oh,
I'm
that's
like,
awesome.
what? So yeah,
So almost
closing in on a decade.
Hey, congratulations whenever that happens. Congratulations on having all those years of experience. Now, with those years of experience, obviously, you'd be able to tell us a little bit more than about how to shoot better photos, right? And I know for myself, I work at a church and I take photos and I do a lot of social media things. And a lot of churches are looking at getting their social media platforms up to date, getting their websites and their photography, their videos up to date. And I know that there are some definite pointers that maybe if I were to start out again, all over again, I would give myself these pointers. Do you have some of those pointers, kind of like that kind of idea?
Yeah, of course. So I have kind of put together a little list of pointers that I think will be really good for beginners, especially those inside the local church body. I know that for smaller churches, I'm very blessed to have been hired to be the media director here at my church. But I know for churches across the states, that's not necessarily the case. And I know having the media title, it's kind of an add-on. It can be an add-on because you can be the youth pastor, but he also can do the slides and he can also take pictures,
For sure,
or
for sure.
say you're the church secretary and you think, oh, I do a little bit of design on the side. And so I am very blessed for the job that I have here at Bible Baptist. But I do have a lot of pointers, not a lot, I shouldn't say a lot, but just a few to get us started anyways.
Awesome. So what tips would you say when you take photos of people, what are some tips that you can give to the people of YouTube, of of the internet, and give them some tips to help them take photos of people so that people don't run away from them or avoid them, and they're just like, oh yeah, it's a camera, instead of them, whoa, it's a camera, I don't want my photo taken. You know what I mean? Do you have any tips like that?
Yes, of course. That is probably one of my favorite DMs that I get on my social media platforms is, how do you take, or say they start out, I'm an introvert, but my pastor just asked me, hey, can you take pictures of, I don't know, the Back to Church Sunday services that they're
Right.
having, or say they're having some Christmas program and they want pictures, but they're mortified. They're like, I've never taken pictures, or nobody has ever associated me even carrying a camera around.
Mm-hmm.
And I think my first pointer would be, it's okay to shoot from a distance. When I first started, I stayed glued to the back of the camera, and mainly because once you have that eye contact with someone, game over kind of thing. And when I first started, when I was very intimidated with what I was doing, I would stay in the back of the camera. I should have had my camera on me, but I would stay in the back of the camera, and I would just scan. That's probably my biggest tip that I can give to introverted photographers, or
Okay.
even if you're just shy or nervous, is stay glued to the camera. Honestly, because the people that you're taking pictures of, or the congregation, when they see you kind of just rotating, doing a pan, they won't even know when you're taking the shot. And so they'll just say, oh, she's scanning the area. So honestly, stay behind the camera. And usually I do that. I see the church, the congregation, through my camera. And when I'm walking through the hallways, nobody knows I'm clicking,
Hmm.
nobody knows when I'm taking a picture of them. And so I think for starters, that's a good way to kind of hide, I guess,
For
behind the
sure.
camera where you
For
to just
sure.
to avoid that eye contact.
For sure. I definitely agree with you there. When I started photography, I was very nervous. Like, I think my first big event was at the college, the same college that we went to. And I was like, man, so many people. What do I do? So I also stayed glued to the back of the camera, and I said, okay, just look for something to take a photo of, look for someone, look for a reaction, take the photo, and they don't even know. And I know that's a great tip. That's definitely a great tip. So what's another tip that we can have in order to improve in our photography for church photography?
I think like I've stated before, I'm very blessed to be here at Bible Baptist, but there's a lot of other churches who necessarily don't have the bandwidth or the budget to invest in a hefty equipment set. But I'm a firm believer. My professor in the college that we went to at West Coast, he said something that stuck with me through the years, and he mentioned the best camera that you can have is the one that you have on you.
Hmm.
And so I'm not very big on having the biggest and best equipment out there. I think if you have a starter camera with the kit lens, even your iPhone, most iPhones, let's be real,
Yeah.
most iPhones nowadays take pretty snazzy shots.
Hmm.
Um, they have like different, I mean, I think you've done a tutorial before in different like portrait modes, different
Hmm.
modes that the
Hmm.
iPhone does. Basically, use what you have. And I'm a firm believer that you don't have to have the fanciest camera out there. I think the main goal in taking photographs is just to preserve your church's history. I think so many people get lost in the moment that they don't realize, hey, these pictures, they're your legacy, they're your history. You're going to look back years down the road and realize God did some amazing things. Do we have any pictures of or video, honestly, for that year that God saved 10 souls on that Sunday morning, or the Christmas service? Remember the kids? They were so little. What age was that? I think keeping that in mind when you're taking pictures can really take a lot of pressure off the fact that you don't have like, the Mark 5 or Mark
Right.
4, whatever,
Right.
camera,
100%. And I also think, that applies to not just church photography, but also, I guess, in general, just making sure that you have the memory. Like whenever you go on a trip, if you don't have, a black magic camera, you don't need to have a you don't need to have something super fancy. You can just have your phone and you can still record all the memories there. And it's the preservation, I guess you could say, of those memories. And that's so important. Like, sure, you might not have the super heavy, full frame camera, but at least you have memories, and that's the legacy. You're preserving the history, like you said. So what's another tip then? So we went through distance. You said, keep your distance. Keep yourself glued to the camera. The second one was, just shoot with what you got. What's another one? What's the third one that we got?
I think one that gets overlooked, and I get asked this question all the time: how do you take candid pictures during your church services? Like, you always want to capture that emotion, people laughing, fellowshipping, the hugs that people are embracing each other on Sunday mornings. But honestly, even if you ask someone, hey, can I take a picture of you two? Or can I take a picture of you with your sign or whatever? A genuine posed shot, don't overlook it. I think it's still okay. Even if you're a starter, you're beginning to start taking pictures of your church. That's great. First of all, I applaud you. That's amazing for you going out of your way to step out of your comfort zone to be able to do that. I think that gets overlooked a lot, where you just think, I need to, like, the pressure. I need to make sure that my pictures are as good as so and so or whatever, fill in the blank. Um, but that's not the case. When I started first taking pictures, I remember going to the coffee shop being like, hey, do you mind if I just take a quick pic of you guys like interchanging your coffee or whatever they were doing,
Mm-hmm.
the espresso stuff, latte art,
The
whatever.
barista.
um, the stuff.
Yeah.
I think don't overthink the candid look. Just ask them. I know there's a lot of girls out there that ask me, and even guys, that how do you do the candid shots? just asks. I think that's a good way to start. We all got to start somewhere. And soon as people start associating you with that camera, I think that's huge. I think one of the things, haven't mentioned this before, but another great tip to kind of incorporate in this is consistency. Like consistency creates candidacy. Does that make sense? I know
Why
when
don't you explain that a little bit more?
yes. So consistency is number one key in church photography. If you're going to say, oh, I'm going to take my old camera, dust it off, and take pictures of services today and only do it that one Sunday, it's ineffective. Like you need to be consistent every single Sunday to carry your camera. When I moved to a Bible Baptist church, it's a new church family, right? It's a new congregation. It's a new group of people.
Right.
And they didn't know me. I think Pastor Sanders had hired me to he had hired me. I flew out here to take pictures of a special event. And obviously all eyes on Maria, right? Because, oh, there's a new girl, like, or she's got a camera, or what is she doing?
Right.
Namely because this church hasn't been exposed to someone actually taking pictures in their church. And so I know there's smaller churches, smaller local churches who honestly haven't been exposed to someone walking around randomly, with a camera. And so I think if you're going to start this up in your local church, carry your camera every single Sunday, even if it's just for show, but the association, like I cannot tell you how many people have titled me the camera girl. The little kids running around in the hallways are like, oh, it's a camera lady, it's a camera lady.
Aww.
Like it's sweet and all. And sometimes, that's what it takes is honestly just having that camera strapped around you, people knowing that, oh, it's Maria, she could take pictures at any time. And I think that would be great to building your consistency in your church, wherever you're at, is the fact that people will no longer avoid you or anything, but they will embrace you. They will think, oh, it's just another day at church. Maria's carrying her camera around. And then honestly, it's amazing to see those walls get lowered down. I know, granted, there's some church members that no pictures of me, young lady, kind of thing, but I think in that moment, you respect, obviously, respect their decision of not wanting to take a picture. I know there's some people in my church family who honestly, they don't like pictures. Hey, that's fine. That's totally fine. There's other people you can photograph. But I have loved seeing the transition of some ladies who are like, no, I don't want to take a picture. And then months down the road, they're like posing with the kid in the nursery, smiling for me. It's amazing. And it's honestly, it's because they just haven't been exposed to someone walking around with a camera all the time. And so if you build that consistency, stick with it. And 4, 5, 6 months later, you'll just be walking around and watch how those candid shots start coming in.
100%. I really don't know what to say because those are a really good point. That's a really good point. I actually need to practice that myself because I haven't really been able to practice just consistently carrying around a camera. And I think if I do that, if I do what you just said, I think there'll be a lot of people like, hey, take a photo of me. Hey, take a photo of me. And I would love to see that. So I'm going to try that myself and I'm going to see how that works. That's awesome. I love that point. Okay. So can you give me another tip after those 3 great tips? Can you give me another tip in order to improve our church photography?
Okay. I think another great tip, this is more practical when it comes to church photography, when you're aiming to get those candid shots that you want. I think I'm going to give you a few areas where you can get those. Okay, so first off, baptism shots. It is a great emotion capturing moment when the person is, going underwater, and as they're surfacing back up, they're grin from ear to ear because of what just happened. Like this next step in their spiritual walk with God has taken place. And I cannot tell you how many times I have recorded that moment, taken the photograph, sent it to them later that day, and be like, hey, that's awesome. This is amazing that this next step in your spiritual walk, what a victory kind of thing. Baptism shots, got to do them. Another great area to take shots that could produce those candid ones. But again, like I said, ask. It's a simple ask. It's still just as golden. In the parking lot, when your church members are coming in and they haven't seen each other, you know what's great about that? When the kids hop off the car and they're like, "Oh, I'm gonna go play with my friends."
Oh.
Taking those shots in the parking lot, that's always great. I know right now because of COVID, that's kind of different, but
Hmm.
however your church does it, be out there. It's always such an awesome time to take those pictures before services because of the people coming in. Um, Another one, show up to practice when they're practicing choir. Like sometimes, obviously, I don't like to kind of go on the platform in the middle of the service or whatever, but during practice time, I'll go up there and I'll get right in those choir spaces, and to take those pictures. Practice time, that's a really good time to take pictures from the choir. Another one that I really want to go a little bit more in depth with, excuse me, is taking the shots during the services of your pastor, your speaker, whoever you're having that Sunday. Um, be filled with anticipation. Know your pastor, know the audience that he's speaking to, because sometimes don't be that person that's going to take a picture in the middle of a serious moment in his sermon. I think I failed at this several times, and it's an awkward, like, click, click, click,
It's like, what's that? Oh, we're
I
having
know,
a
and it's
moment.
me. Yes. So I have learned, like, know your pastor. And if you are able to get access to his notes and kind of get like an outline of what the service is going to look like, I think that would be great. Because usually when a pastor is telling a joke or is telling a lighthearted story, you can anticipate laughter afterwards. And that is another great opportunity to get pictures of your pastor smiling. Because I know it's hard to get, I don't know how many pictures I have taken of pastors from our college or chapel speakers, and you have to constantly stay like taking a good picture of them because of all the facial expressions, right?
Right,
But
right.
also taking the pictures, or as you see the moment, turn around, take pictures of the congregation laughing. That's another great opportunity there to take pictures. But those are a few more of the practical side of moments that you can strive for when looking for candid shots.
That's awesome. I love the fact that you mentioned that you can ask your pastor for his outline, because I didn't really think about that. I could actually just ask my pastor for his outline and say, oh, he's going to tell a lighthearted story here so I can get the photos there. That's perfect. I love that. That is so good. If you're taking down notes, for those that are watching on the video live stream, whatever you're watching this on. Okay, if you're watching this on the premiere, you need to be taking notes on this. This is really good information and really good tips that you need to be writing down. So, Maria, thank you so much for those. Is there any other tips? Is there any bonus tips? Is there anything else you would like to let the people know?
I think before we get too carried away with all these tips, I know sometimes I can get really excited about everything, but also know that more than being a photographer, you're made for community with these church members. I know sometimes being stuck behind the camera is so easy to fall trapped to, but I know that, for example, say the services are over, I'm going into the fellowship hall or whatever and fellowshipping with other people.
Mhm.
Be a part of the moment. I think it's sometimes it's so funny. I'm caught up laughing with whoever I'm talking about. And I think in the back of my mind, oh, that would have been a great shot of so and so laughing. And then afterwards, like I like bust out my camera like trying to take a picture of them after the joke or whatever was said
Right.
is over with. I think it's okay if you miss moments. You know what's the great thing about this? You get another opportunity the
Right.
next following Sunday. So don't
100%.
think don't think you have to do everything every single Sunday. Maybe one Sunday, hey, focus on just the preaching, but carry the camera around. Remember,
Hmm.
people, consistency.
Hmm.
Maybe you only focus on the preaching, and then the following Sunday, fellowship. I'm going to capture some fellowship. Oh, nice weather. Hey, I'm going to the parking lot this Sunday, kind of thing. Like anticipation and consistency are it's amazing what those two coming together can do and up level your church
Hmm.
photography, really. But like I said, I'm trying to go and chasing a rabbit trail here. Just don't forget that you're made for community too. Like just as that service, you're sitting there in that service, listen to the service, listen to your pastor. Don't be so focused on capturing the right moment or capturing the right shot. You're made for community. And I think sometimes we need to be reminded of that as creatives in the church. I know a lot goes on behind the scenes, but
Mhm.
hey, be a part of the moment just as much as you can.
For sure. Thank you so much, Maria, for your time. And thank you, people on the YouTubes, for watching. This has been so fun. This has been so informative. But Maria, I know you have an Instagram, so I'll link that down below. But you also have something special to tell the people, right?
Yes, I wanted to make sure that I guess you could rewatch the video again if you wanted to, but if you didn't take notes, it would probably be easier if you just emailed me at marialaraphotography@gmail.com and I will give you a free PDF of everything that was discussed about today.
Well, there you go, everyone. So if you have gotten information, if you could leave me a like on this video to let me know that you enjoyed this kind of content, and subscribe for more content like this one, because we are always pushing out content to help out the creative community. But until next time, I'll see you guys in the next video.